It's now question time, and I will call Senator Sharma.
Thanks, President. My question's to the Minister representing the Treasurer, Senator Gallagher. Monthly inflation figures out yesterday show that inflation is again out of control and firmly above the Reserve Bank's target band, both in underlying terms and the headline rate. Penelope Smith, the head of the International Department at the Reserve Bank, said in a speech yesterday factors that could push neutral rates higher include growing fiscal deficits. Minister, is the Reserve Bank right or wrong?
Thank you, Senator Sharma. Minister Gallagher.
Just didn't hear the quote you read out. Sorry,
Okay.
There was just a bit about the noise.
Can we just be really, really quiet? Would you mind just repeating the quote? Thank you, Senator
Sure.
Sharma.
I was quoting Penelope Smith, head of the International Department at the Reserve Bank, who said in a speech yesterday factors that could push neutral rates higher include growing fiscal deficits. Minister, is the Reserve Bank right or wrong?
Thank you, Senator Sharma. Minister Gallagher.
And I appreciate that, Senator Sharma, in terms of repeating that part of the question. Well, I think we've always accepted that the government has a role to play in partnership with the Reserve Bank to ensure that inflation is heading down from when we were elected and getting it back into band, and part of that is getting the budget in better shape. And that's why our two surpluses, our getting the debt down, interest on debt down, reducing the deficits. I mean, we've seen the most substantial turnaround in the UCB in a positive way since we came to government on record. And I know those opposite want to ignore all of those facts. We know that you didn't promise a surplus and then never delivered one. We have, and we have halved the deficit, and we are doing the hard work in ensuring we're getting the budget in much better shape, and at the same time assisting households and Australians with cost of living help. And we've done that. At the same time, we've repaired the budget, and we are conscious of the role that we play in governments in our decisions on our budget. But we are proud of the record of getting the budget in better shape and providing assistance to households during periods when inflation was higher than we'd like, for longer than we would like. And we know that the job is not done. We know that there is more to do, and this government will do it. We will take the same approach we took in our first term, which is to look for savings where we can, reprioritise across the budget. If we get upward revisions to revenue, that we use that to improve pay down debt and improve the interest burden on that debt. All of that matters, and that's why we've taken that approach when taking our decisions. But we didn't have the same approach that those opposite had at the election, which was to slash and burn and hurt everyday Australians with their cuts.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Sharma, first supplementary.
Thanks, President. Minister, the Challenger chief economist and former RBA official Jonathan Kearns said yesterday two factors mean the RBA is unlikely to be able to deliver 2.5% inflation with a cash rate at its current level. First, financing conditions remain easy. Second, fiscal policy continues to provide some stimulus. The RBA needs to offset the stimulus from these two factors, and so a further cut is looking very unlikely. Minister, isn't it clear your policies are contributing to interest rate rises?
Thank you, Senator Sharma. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you. Sorry, I missed the end bit of that question, but I think I got the feeling of where you were going with that. The government has shown enormous fiscal discipline in the settings that we have in making sure that the decisions we take do not make the Reserve Bank's job harder. But we do not believe that the approach that those opposite took to the election, which was higher taxes and significant cuts on the budget, cuts to Medicare, cuts to pensions, a whole range of areas. Every time, Senator Ruston, every time you criticise excessive spending, what you are talking about is the indexation of pensions. It's around Medicare. Well, that is the figures that you use, and you used them all through the election campaign when you cited the spending you were concerned about. That is what it related to. And we hold you to account, and we are conscious of the role that we play, including supporting Australians during periods of higher inflation.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Henderson, withdraw.
I withdraw.
And Senator Ruston, I believe you need to withdraw as well.
Correcting the record.
Senator Ruston.
To assist the chamber, of course I will withdraw, but I still think the minister should perhaps correct the record.
Thank you, Senator Ruston. Senator Ruston, thank you. Senator Sharma, second supplementary.
Minister, EY Chief Economist Cheryl Murphy said yesterday in response to the inflation figures, if the re-acceleration in inflation is sustained over coming months, interest rate hikes are more likely than cuts in 2026. Do you agree with this assessment?
Thank you, Senator Sharma. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you. Well, I often listen to a lot of economists, including many that are reported in the paper today, and unsurprising to the chamber, there are different views. I will leave the commentary to others, and I leave the decisions about whether the decisions the Reserve Bank makes to the Reserve Bank. That is their responsibility, and they are independent of government. Our job is to get the budget in better shape, to pay down debt where we can, to return revenue to the budget, and to ensure that services are being delivered in an efficient and effective way at the same time as delivering on our election commitments and making sure that we are supporting households. That is what we've done in the first 3 years, and we will continue that approach.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Sterle.
President, my question is to the most magnificent minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Wong. Yeah, I know. On this final Senate sitting date of 2025, it's an appropriate time to reflect on the year that was. At the election in May, the Albanese Labor government recommitted to delivering for Australians, to ensure no one is held back and no one is left behind. Minister, how has the government been delivering its ambitious agenda?
Thank you, Senator Sterle. Minister
Listen
Wong.
up.
Senator Sterle for that question, and Senator Sterle knows the answer because it is something that he has done all of his political life and as a trade unionist. And the answer is, of course, what we have been doing is delivering for Australians. Delivering for Australians. And what better example today, example than the announcement today as to the agreement to reform environmental laws, not only to protect our environment for future generations, but to speed up decision-making for projects in national priority areas like housing, renewables and critical minerals. And I want to pay tribute to Senator Watt for his tremendous work. President, this is what serious government looks like. Serious government looks like recognising what Australia needs and delivering it. And we've made real economic progress. But we know that Australians are still feeling cost of living pressures, and which is why this government continues to deliver responsible cost of living relief before the election in the form of tax cuts for every Australian taxpayer, and more to come, delivering cheaper medicines, more bulk billing and energy bill relief. We're cutting student debt like we said we would, and in fact 1.5 million Australians will have their student debt cut by 20% today. And we're making medicines even cheaper, capping the price of a PBS script at $25, $7.70 for pensioners and concession card holders from January 1st. And, of course, we are further strengthening Medicare, the largest ever investment since it was established, with more bulk billing for more Australians, opening more urgent care clinics across the country so more Australians can get free, quality care when they need it. Our #1 focus on this side of the chamber continues to be delivering cost of living relief for the Australian people. That is the focus of the Labor government.
Minister. Senator Sterle, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Minister. And to you too, Minister Megawatt. A central focus of the Albanese Labor government has been to continue to deliver cost of living relief to Australians. What progress has the government made, and has there been support across the parliament for our cost of living measures?
Thank you, Senator Sterle. Minister Wong.
Australians deserve a government that is focused on what makes a difference to their lives, like cost of living, and that's what we have spent 2025 doing. That's what we have done. That's what we've been focused on prior to the election, and we have continued to deliver since the election. Meanwhile, those opposite have opposed almost every cost of living measure this government has put forward. The only thing they have managed to promise in this last 12 months is higher taxes. Higher taxes. And, of course, they could not even negotiate on these important environmental reforms because that would require them to take time out from their favourite pastime of fighting amongst themselves. It wasn't even clear who would be their lead negotiator. We couldn't wait for months for another Liberal Party review so they could come up with a position with which some of them might agree. There is no coalition to negotiate with, a coalition in name only.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Sterle, second supplementary.
Yes, thank you, President. The Albanese Labor government has spent this year delivering for Australians and providing the strong, stable leadership Australians expect and deserve. What progress is the government making to build Australia's future, and what threats stand in the way?
Thank you, Senator Sterle. Minister Wong.
Thank you, Senator Sterle. Thank you, President. Well, we are building Australia's future. We are delivering cost of living relief. We are strengthening Medicare. We are building more homes. We are investing in reliable and affordable energy, and we are taking action on climate change. We are focused on delivering for all Australians. But what we see opposite is actually not a serious opposition. You see, they no longer represent nor understand what most Australians want. They insist on chasing the political fringes, trying to outflank One Nation, Mr Joyce already having jumped ship, and of those left in the coalition, we see a bevy of leadership contenders. We see Ms Lee, Mr Hastie, Mr Taylor, Ms McIntosh, maybe even Mr Wilson. Maybe even Mr Wilson. What we know, they have no clear plan for Australians, and they are trying to drag their country to where their internal party arguments have taken them. We will focus on work.
Thank you, Minister Wong. Senator Chandler.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Treasurer, Senator Gallagher. Minister, yesterday Minister Ayres couldn't tell the Senate how much your government's role in the pre-COP next year will cost Australians. Can you confirm how much it will cost Australian taxpayers?
Thank you, Senator Chandler. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, President, and I thank the Senator for the question. And I did listen very closely to Senator Ayres' excellent responses to questions that he received yesterday. We're disappointed not to be bringing the world to Adelaide, but we think the agreement reached was a sensible one, one that reflects the importance of bringing the world's leaders to the Pacific so that they can see firsthand what some of the Pacific Island leaders and communities are so concerned about in their response to climate change. Thank you, Senator Ruston. I don't need your instruction about how to answer a question. The question was on COP, and I am answering. I am answering, and I am relevant to COP. Thank you. Thank you. Australia, in partnership with the Pacific, will set the agenda for and preside over a special pre-COP for leaders and others in the Pacific in 2026, which, as I said, will give the world an opportunity to see the Pacific climate impacts and solutions firsthand. And this was an important part of our advocacy around COP31, was our advocacy
Minister, please resume your seat. Senator Chandler.
Thank you, President. The Minister has been attempting to answer for more than a minute, and she's going nowhere near the question. The point of order is direct relevance. My question was, how much will the pre-COP cost Australian taxpayers?
Thank you, Senator Chandler. And you also referred to questions asked of Minister Ayres yesterday. So I think the Minister is being relevant, and I will continue to listen carefully to her responses. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you. Well, thank you. And I'm unsurprised that this is a new line of attack on climate from the opposition. We understand that. Well, pretend you're doing something else, Senator Ruston, if it helps you sleep at night. I'm sure you argue very strongly for net zero. Don't walk away. We saw the result of that. We haven't ever seen a quieter Senator Bragg in the last sitting week than we've seen. Apparently, he got everything he wanted. We feel for you. In relation to costs, they will be determined in the usual way, as you would expect, just as costs of climate through our disaster relief fund and all the resources we put into that are dealt with in the
Senator Chandler, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. Minister, has Mr Bowen briefed you on what next year's pre-COP will cost Australian taxpayers?
Thank you, Senator Chandler. Minister Gallagher.
The thing about how this government works is that we work together and we talk all the time. And we talk about what's in the nation's interest. We have meetings, we have structured processes, we have decision-making, unlike those opposite who do all of their briefings on Sky News and who trip over each other, presumably, in the corridor in order to get their slot.
Senator Chandler. Minister, please resume your seat. Senator, order. I'm waiting. Senator Chandler's on her feet. Senator Chandler.
The point of order once again is direct relevance. That was a very short, tight question. All we need to know is whether Mr Bowen has briefed this minister.
Thank you, Senator Chandler. I will draw the minister to your question. Minister Gallagher.
And we're really proud of the role that Minister Bowen played in Brazil. We're very proud of the role that he has secured as President of negotiations and the advocacy he provided on behalf of Australia and the Pacific. And we think it is in the world's interests to continue the discussions and to bring the world's attention to what's happening in the Pacific. Unsurprising from those opposite who made a joke about how water lapped at the sides of some of these nations, that they would be taking the view that they currently are on this important matter to our Pacific friends.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Chandler, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. While Australian taxpayers and businesses suffer with skyrocketing power prices under this government's failing net zero plan, Minister, why is your government so focused on grandstanding at the COP and the United Nations?
Thank you, Senator Chandler. Minister Gallagher.
Well, I did notice actually I saw it reported somewhere that the Shadow Treasurer admitted yesterday that there were costs associated with the energy transition and that there would be costs under the coalition's approach, although we don't fully understand what that might be. This government believes in This government believes in climate change. We believe that it is real, that it is having an impact, that it is having an impact in the Pacific, and that we should be part of the global discussions about how to manage and reduce the effects that climate change is having. We accept that you over there don't believe in it and don't think you should do anything about it. And you know why we know that is a real feeling? Because we saw it on display in the 10 years you had to actually respond to some of the energy challenges in this country. When all those coal-fired power stations said that they were going to close, what did? You turned your back and you walked the other way and you did nothing. This government responds and we deal with things in the national interest.
Senator Shoebridge.
Well, thanks very much, President. My question is to the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister Wong. Minister, the federal government, and specifically your department, the Department of Foreign Affairs, was made aware of serious evidence of corrupt payments to senior Nauru officials, including the current and former president of Nauru, by Austrac. So how on earth did your government then sign a $2.5 billion secret deal with a government that you knew to be corrupt?
Thank you, Senator Shoebridge. Minister Wong.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Senator Shoebridge. First, I'd make the point that actually the MOU, I think, was negotiated by the Home Affairs Department. What I would say is we have zero tolerance for corruption, but unlike you, Senator, I will not comment on the contents or nature of classified Austrac reporting.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Shoebridge, first supplementary.
Zero tolerance, huh? Is it because you know the current Nauruan government is so corrupt that your government has sought to hide every detail of this $2.5 billion deal from the Australian public, hiding the MOU, hiding even the speech the Nauruan president put on his Facebook page? Is your response to corruption, as we see again today, to hide it from the public?
Thank you, Senator Shoebridge. Minister Wong.
I think those questions should be addressed to, as I said, you've addressed me as Foreign Minister. I don't believe the MOU discussion is in the portfolio of the Foreign Minister.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Shoebridge, second supplementary.
Well, Minister, that says it all, doesn't it? Reporting in the Sydney Morning Herald today, found that your government has been indirectly funding the criminal bikie gang, the Finks, through dodgy contractors like MA Services, both in Nauru and even in the NAC here, guarding the NAC apparently. Why hasn't your government, why haven't you taken action to stop these contracts, or is giving Australian public money to bikie gangs now Labor policy?
Minister Wong.
Senator, I refer to my very first answer. Australian expectations about...
I'm sorry, Senator Wong. Please resume your seat. There's a three-way conversation going on across the chamber when the minister is answering the question. Minister Wong, please continue.
Thank you. I refer you to my my first answer, Senator, and I would also say to you that Australian government expectations about the use of Australian government funds are clear and are...
Oh, sorry, Senator Shoebridge. Just wait, Senator Shoebridge.
The minister is not being relevant to my question here, which is about bikie gang payments, which were not covered by the AUSTRAC, but indeed covered by the SMH reporting. The minister knows that and is trying to avoid the question.
Senator Shoebridge, 3 times I called you. You are answering a question. The minister is being relevant to the question. Have you, Minister, did you want to make a further contribution?
Yes, I did. I again would say Australian government expectations about the appropriate use of Australian government funding is something we apply across government.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Mulholland. Senator Shoebridge, we have moved on. Order. Minister Wong.
The disrespect that is being shown by Senator Shoebridge to you, President, is disgraceful. He should withdraw that.
Senator Shoebridge, you've been invited by Minister Wong to withdraw those comments.
Yeah, I withdraw them, President.
Sorry? Thank you.
I withdraw them. I withdraw them, President, is what I said.
Thank you, Senator Shoebridge. Senator Mulholland.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister for Women and Minister for Finance, Senator Gallagher. Today's release of the Workplace Gender Equality Agency's Gender Equality Scorecard is a timely reminder of why closing the gender pay gap matters for fairness and economic growth. Equal pay strengthens families, it boosts productivity and it lifts living standards. What do the latest figures reveal about progress, and how are the Albanese Labor government's reforms helping to deliver better outcomes for women and the economy?
Thank you, Senator Mulholland. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, President. I thank Senator Mulholland for the question and for her ongoing interest in women's equality or gender equality and the gender pay gap. The report today from the Workplace Gender Equality Agency's use of data shows that the gender pay gap continues to narrow, dropping to 21.1%, down from 28.8%. This report does include CEO and manager pay and captures total remuneration for workers in private sector firms with 100 or more employees. The median gender pay gap is down to 16.4% from 18.3%, the biggest drop since median pay gaps have been reported. Now, this progress follows significant reform by our government to introduce gender pay gap reporting at the employer level, bringing transparency and accountability to the gender pay gap conversation. And from next year, employers with 500 or more employees will need to set targets for gender equality in their workplace, driving faster change. There are some promising signs reported in this year's scorecard. More men are taking paid parental leave, with men representing 20% of all employees who took primary carer parental leave, which is a great result. The scorecard also shows that 99% of employers have a policy to prevent sexual harassment, following reforms by our government to implement the Respect at Work recommendations. Employers are also advancing gender equality by adopting flexible work arrangements, especially for managers, continuing to review gender pay gaps. There is still work to do. Progress to improve gender balance on governing boards is too slow, with nearly a quarter of all governing boards having no women on them at all. And the scorecard also shows that discretionary payments such as performance bonuses, allowances and overtime are driving up the gender pay gap, with men on average earning 60% more than women through such payments.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Mulholland, first supplementary.
There's been some great progress achieved to date, and just like narrowing the gender pay gap, the strength of our economy depends on secure jobs and fair wages. How are the latest jobs and wages figures reflecting the Albanese Labor government's broader economic plan, and what do they mean for sustaining growth and lifting living standards across the country?
Thank you, Senator Mulholland. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, and I thank Senator Mulholland for that supplementary. And as Senator Mulholland touched on, driving women's economic equality has been a key priority for our government. That means lifting wages and closing gaps where we see them, including in pay, but also in super. And we've done a lot of work, and I acknowledge Senator McAllister, who, when we first came to this place, did a very significant piece of work around the inequality when it comes to women's superannuation. Labor's tax cuts also, when we ensured that women taxpayers were 90% better off under our arrangements, and of course reforming the low-income super tax offset to support lower-income women to save more for their retirement. We've introduced payday super again to ensure that people get their super earlier, and that will assist closing that gap as well. And it has, of course, joined with our broader focus on driving wages and making we're getting wages moving again.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Mulholland, second supplementary.
This year we have already seen a strengthening economy with a narrowing of the gender pay gap, record employment and rising wages across the economy. How do these results position Australia for the year ahead? And why is it critical to maintain these gains for families and for businesses, especially in the face of those who would take a different approach?
Thank you, Senator Mulholland. Minister Gallagher.
Yeah, thank you, Senator Mulholland, for that question. Thank you, President. We are delivering more real, practical and ongoing help with the cost of living to all Australians, and much of that has been opposed by the Coalition, including our pay rise for minimum and award wage workers, a superannuation guarantee to 12%, looking at paid parental leave, our boost to Medicare, our expanded bulk billing, our cutting student debt, and many students will be getting those, and former students will be getting those text messages rolling out now, and opening another 50 Medicare urgent care clinics. This has all been part of how we're not only focusing on wages and focusing on women's economic equality, but also ensuring that other things like services and structural changes, including for paying super on PPL, are being made to continue to show that we are trying to make things easier for people and closing women's economic inequality at the same time.
Thank you, Minister. I am informed that Senator Thorpe has given her question to Senator David Pocock. Senator Pocock.
Thanks, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Communications, Senator Farrell. Minister, the Parliament passed 355 bills in the last Parliament, the 47th Parliament. There are 100 bills in front of the current Parliament. I think there's 16 bills alone in this afternoon's guillotine. None of those bills deal with banning gambling advertising, which was a recommendation over 2 years ago by the Murphy report. And so I'm interested, Minister, given we've had so much time for all these other things, when will the government actually get round to introducing legislation that bans all gambling ads over 3 years in line with a recommendation from the Murphy report?
Thank you, Senator Pocock. Minister Wong.
Senator, I may have misheard you. I thought you directed that to Senator Gallagher. It is Senator Farrell. You may have done that.
Yeah, I understood Senator Farrell. Senator Farrell.
Thank you, President, and I also understood it to be. And thank Senator Pocock for his question on the issue of online gambling. I think it's important that we put into perspective the work that the Albanese government has done in the gambling space since we came to office in 2022, and I think it's fair to say that this government has delivered the most significant online wagering harm reduction initiatives of the past decade, including launching the Bet Stop and banning the use of credit cards for online wagering. The Minister has had several meetings with the harm reduction advocates, broadcasters and sporting codes as we, as a government, seek to make further minimisation of the harms associated with gambling. In other words, we are seeking to engage all of the stakeholders who have an interest in this issue in order to make further progress. So we've made progress. We're engaging with the stakeholders to make further progress. The Minister for Social Services and the Communications Minister are determined to continue the work of previous ministers in this space. Both the relevant ministers understand that there is more work to be done, Senator Pocock, and they've set about the process of ensuring that process continues and comes to a finalisation.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Pocock, first supplementary.
Thanks, President. Minister, gambling ads have so normalised gambling amongst young Australians. I had a father write in saying that his 16-year-old son had set up a sports betting account, lost $20,000, and now him and his wife are having to sleep on his son's floor because he's suicidal. And so I'm just wondering why your laundry list of things that you and other ministers read out haven't avoided this sort of harm, given we know it's such a challenge in our communities.
Thank you, Senator Pocock. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Senator Pocock. And obviously the circumstances that you've just outlined are tragic, and nobody would want that to happen in their family. I can only reiterate, Senator Pocock, that progress has been made already in limiting gambling, online gambling in particular, by this government. And as I said in my previous answer, we're working with all the stakeholders to come up with a solution to this issue and provide fresh legislation to continue the good work that has already been done.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Pocock, second supplementary.
Thanks, President. Thanks, Minister. Minister, we've seen online gambling increase over the last 12 months, which kind of flies in the face of what you're saying. And I'm really interested. We have these awful harms happening in communities across the country. You have a landmark report that laid out how to treat this as a public health issue with recommendations. Why is the government not implementing the Murphy report?
Thank you, Senator Pocock. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President, and thank Senator Pocock for his second supplementary question. Look, progress is being made. Can I just give you a few facts in this space, Senator Pocock? BetStop has officially reached over 50,000 registrations. In fact, the figure is 51,079, 39% of whom have chosen a lifetime ban. There's 32,610 of these are active exclusions. Around 4 in 5 people who have registered for self-exclusion.
Minister Farrell, please resume your seat. Senator Pocock.
Sorry, President, just on relevance, the Murphy report didn't recommend BetStop. I'm specifically asking about the recommendations of the Murphy report.
Yes, and the Minister is being relevant, and I will draw him to the Murphy report, but he is talking generally about what the government has done. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President. Around 4 in 5 people who have registered for self-exclusion have since experienced a better overall quality of life.
Minister Farrell.
Sorry,
Senator Pocock.
Sorry, President. Maybe I'll try again. Just on direct relevance then, BetStop was not part of the Murphy report. I'm really interested in the Murphy report and when that will be implemented.
Thank you. I will continue to listen carefully, and if necessary, I'll draw the Minister to your question. Minister
Thank you, President. Look, we have made progress in this space, Senator Pocock. We've banned the use of credit cards for online wagering. We've forced online wagering companies to send their customers monthly activity statements outlining wins and losses. We've provided
thank you, Minister Farrell. The time for answering has expired. Senator Kovacic.
My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Wong. Reports today say the Housing Minister, quote, read the Riot Act to Housing Australia bureaucrats. The HAF scoreboard is not good. It has bought 889 homes, built none, and in some cases is spending $1.3 million per dwelling, almost 3 times the average Australian cost to build one, all while Housing Australia faces accusations of severe governance dysfunction. Will the government admit that it has lost control of its housing agency?
Thank you, Senator Kovacic. Minister Wong.
The answer to the last part of that multifaceted question is no. What I would also say, Senator, as you know, this government is making it a priority to invest more in housing. I appreciate that has not been the position of the party of which you are a member, although you weren't a member of the relevant government. I would appreciate that you may not be aware of the history, but obviously we do have a housing affordability challenge in this country. It is regrettable that over many years of coalition governments there was not federal government involvement in increasing supply. We are determined to change that. 373 social and affordable houses you built in 9 years, Senator Henderson. 373 in 9 years. Why don't you stand up and defend 373 in 9 years? But I'm not going to let Senator Henderson disrupt your question, Senator Kovacic. The minister is very focused on...
Senator Henderson, I've called your name at least 4 times. Minister Wong, please continue.
Thank you. The minister is very focused on making sure that we deliver our $43 billion housing plan as effectively and as efficiently as possible, and that is a good thing. That is a good thing for the country, that is a good thing for the economy, and it is a good thing for people seeking to own their own home.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Kovacic, first supplementary.
Why does the Albanese government continue to disobey Senate orders to make the $24,000 report into the governance dysfunction at Housing Australia public? What is the government trying to hide?
Thank you, Senator Kovacic. Minister Wong.
Senator, I'm not sure which of the many Senator Andrew Bragg OPDs you are referring to, but I can say we have received multiple OPDs from Senator Bragg. I can say that, frankly, I don't think he is utilising that mechanism of the Senate with any regard to, with any seriousness. I mean, when governments get requests that are due that day, I think he knows that we are not going to be. Senator Henderson, I'm trying to answer the question.
Oh, here he is, Mr OPD.
Minister Wong. Senator Bragg.
Thank you very much. Point of order on relevance. The question was, when will the government comply with the order?
Thank you, Senator Bragg. The minister's being directly relevant to the question. Minister Wong, please continue.
I think I am being directly relevant. I do respect this institution, and I have used OPDs in opposition too, but what we see from the opposition, in particular the Senator Bragg, it's not a serious use of the Senate's powers. Because because you give us, you give us a day or less
time has expired.
To provide.
Thank you, Minister Wong. Senator Kovacic.
The Albanese Labor government.
Second supplementary.
The Albanese Labor government is spending $60 billion to build fewer homes than the previous coalition government. Will the Albanese Labor government apologise?
Senator Kovacic, please resume your seat. Minister
I would really appreciate it if you could start that again. Your colleague, Senator Bragg, was obviously very keen to talk about himself, but I'd quite like to hear your question.
Thank you. Senator Kovacic, if you would start your question again, and we'll start the clock again. Thank you.
The Albanese Labor government is spending $60 billion to build fewer homes than the previous coalition government. Will the Albanese Labor government apologise to Australians for making the housing crisis worse than ever?
Order on my right. I've had Minister Wong on her feet because she couldn't hear an answer because of interjections. Senator Kovacic, have you finished the question? Thank you. Minister Wong.
Well, thank you, Senator. You know that statistic isn't true. I mean, the reality is you're comparing all houses built, including private construction, with what government is contributing to. And you know why the people who wrote that question don't want to compare what governments are supporting and what between your government and ours is because the coalition government wasn't interested in supporting more housing. I mean, let's be clear. Now, what we have been really very clear about is that we are delivering homes, building more homes and making it easier for first-home buyers. We are cutting red tape. We are making it easier for builders to get on with a job. We are delivering social and affordable homes, and we are delivering homes for Senator?
Senator Ruston, even though they're quiet interjections, I can still hear them, and so can the minister. Minister Wong.
We know that those opposite has had a decade in office, and they built 373 social and affordable homes. We have over 5,000 have been completed under Commonwealth programs.
The time for answering has expired. Senator Whittam.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Treasurer, Minister Gallagher. Minister, at the last sitting week, I put it to you that Labor was putting young people at the risk of mortgage stress with the 5% deposit scheme, given all the economic indicators pointing to a rate hike. Well, the economists agree with me after the latest disastrous inflation numbers driven by housing.
Order.
Now they're saying up to 2 rate rises in 2026, just in time for Labor to start cutting jobs. Will Labor now accept that they have put people, especially young people, at risk of mortgage stress with the housing Ponzi scheme?
Thank you, Senator Whittam. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, President, and I thank Senator for the question. And this government's very proud of the housing policies that we've put in place in order to deal with the challenges on housing supply because of, again, what we inherited from those opposite after a decade of ignoring housing, having nothing to do, nothing to say, allowing housing affordability to be ignored.
Please resume your seat, Senator. Senator Bragg, I don't think I need to have to call a whole list. You're not in a debate with me. You are not in a debate with me. There's been a number of interjections across the chamber from the left. You need to listen respectfully and quietly. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you. And I'm sure the senator has read the Treasury modelling and the Treasury evidence around the 5% deposits. But we don't apologise for looking at every
Minister Gallagher, please resume your seat. I'll remind the chamber that this is a question from Senator Whittam, and the interjections from the opposition are disorderly and rude to Senator Whittam. He has the right to have his answer heard in silence. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you. And probably relevant for this discussion as well is construction cost inflation has fallen under this government from a high under the coalition when it was running at annually 17%. Has now fallen to 2.1% under Labor. There are more first-home buyers under Labor. We've directly helped 197,000 Australians into home ownership sooner, 3 times more than the former government. Housing approvals are up 15% compared to a year ago, with townhouses and apartments up 55% compared to a year ago. New home starts are up. New dwelling commencements were up 9.2% in the March quarter, and overall, over 520,000 new homes have been built under the Labor government. This includes more than 5,000 social and affordable homes delivered under the federal government investment, compared to how many? 373 over a decade by those opposite, because they didn't care about social and affordable housing. 373 over a decade. That is the progress we are making. We will use every lever available to us to ensure that everyone has access to a secure and sustainable
Minister.
housing.
The time for answering has expired. Senator Whitten, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. We all remember the GFC. We all remember the destruction that was brought down on the world economy by subprime lending. Now APRA has had to step in. For the first time, they have had to introduce debt-to-income limits on lending to slow down the issuing of high-risk debt that is being pumped by Labor. Does Labor accept that APRA's actions are a result of Labor pushing high-risk subprime lending on Australia's most vulnerable borrowers?
Thank you, Senator Whitten. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you. Well, we support the responsible lending obligations and have been part of arguing, including post the period of time that you talk about through the global financial crisis, to make sure that those obligations by lenders are in place. We think, and we have a strong, well-run banking system in this country. The banks take their and the lenders take their obligations seriously around ensuring responsible lending, and that's an important part of their responsibility as regulators. Our job is to make sure that we're doing what we need to do under the policy arrangements that we have on our housing agenda, to make sure that all those arrangements are in order. We believe they are, and I commend the work of the Housing Minister, Minister O'Neill, for all the effort and energy that she brings to this portfolio, which, as we said, had been ignored for 10 years under those opposite.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Whitten, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. APRA has had to put the brakes on Labor's subprime lending scheme.
I'm sorry. Order across the chamber. Senator Whitten, could you start again, and I'll ask that the clock be set again.
Thank you.
Order. Order. Minister Wong, I've asked the senator to start his question again. Order. Senator Whitten.
APRA has had to put the brakes on Labor's subprime lending scheme. Inflation is rocketing. Economists are seeing rate rises in the future. Labor has lured into a hyperinflated housing market, taking out mega mortgages based on Labor's false promises of outlandish predictions. Has Labor modelled the default rates on the 5% loan scheme for 2 rate rises in 26, and how much will this cost the Australian people?
Thank you, Senator Whitten. Minister Gallagher. Senator Watt. Senator Watt.
The opinion leaders.
Order on my right. Order. Minister Wong. Minister Wong, I have Senator Gallagher on her feet. Senator Gallagher.
Thank you. Well, I reject the assertions that have been put in the question, so I make that clear. In relation to do we essentially work with the banks and understand what's happening in the housing market? Yes, we do. And I think if you look at some of the comments that the bank CEOs have made to the House Standing Committee just a week ago, they've made comments in this regard, including that if I look at the Westpac CEO, I don't think the first home buyer scheme is driving housing prices. And from the CEO of CBA, I know Treasury has done some—
Minister Gallagher, please resume your seat. Minister Wong.
President, if Senator Bragg can't contain himself, perhaps he should leave.
Well, I quite agree, Senator Wong. I called you to order. Senator Bragg, you've apologised. You've kept interjecting. You are answering me back now, which is we're not in a debate. If you can't— Senator Colbeck. Senator Bragg, if you can't listen in silence, you can leave the chamber. Minister Gallagher, did you wish to continue?
Indeed. I should remind the chamber that lending rules and serviceability requirements remain the same under this scheme. 5% deposits help first home buyers get a home sooner and save tens of thousands in mortgage insurance. It does not increase how much a person can borrow, so I reject the question that was put.
Senator Grogan.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister for Early Childhood Education, Senator Walsh. Highly skilled educators are the backbone of our early learning system, and we know that their hard work delivers benefits for children that last well into their school years and beyond. But for too long, these educators have been underpaid, undervalued and overlooked. Can the minister outline what the Albanese Labor government is doing to overcome this and ensure we retain hard-working, highly trained and experienced educators?
Thank you. Senator Grogan. Minister Walsh.
Thank you, President, and I thank Senator Grogan for her question. And I know that everyone on this side of the chamber, including Senator Grogan, values our nation's hard-working early childhood educators. Next Monday is a historic day for our nation's dedicated professional early educators because this is when the second part of our 15% pay rise rolls out. It means an extra $160 a week in their pay packets. And when combined with our support for minimum wage rises, that's an extra $200 a week, all up. This is a game-changer for this workforce. And I can say that I am proud to have represented early educators before entering Parliament with their union. And I'm proud to have stood with them as they advocated for the respect and the recognition that they deserve under 10 long years of Liberal governments who never listened and never acted. And I am proud to be part of an Albanese Labor government that has listened, that has acted and that is delivering this much-deserved 15% pay rise. This is a predominantly female workforce who for too long were asked to accept low wages for the love of caring for children. For too long, our dedicated early educators were underpaid and were undervalued by those opposite. And we are changing that because we know that love doesn't pay the bills. We know that traditionally female-dominated work, like education and care, is highly skilled work. We know it deserves to be valued in the community, valued by government and valued in the pay packets of our educators.
The time has expired. Senator Grogan, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. Minister, that's great to hear about that 5% pay rise next week. I think this side of the chamber are all very excited about that. You've also spoken about the importance of the pay rise for early educators who are already feeling that relief in terms of cost of living. Can you please outline for us how the pay rise is stabilising the sector and what impact that's having on children and on their families?
Thank you, Senator Grogan. Minister Walsh.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Senator Grogan. Well, when the Albanese Labor government first came to office, we inherited a sector which educators were leaving in droves, and that was because of a decade of coalition neglect. A decade of talking down this workforce, a decade of low wages by deliberate design. We inherited high vacancy rates, high burnout rates and widespread casualisation. But since educators received the first 10% of their pay rise in December last year, we have seen this turn around. The number of educators is up. Vacancy rates are down. Educators are able to stay in the jobs that they love. And when educators can stay in their jobs, it means more stability for children, more stability for families and more stability for the sector that they rely on.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Grogan, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Minister. That's excellent news. We know that a quality, respected workforce is the foundation of a quality early education system, and the Albanese Labor government is delivering for these workers, as you've pointed out, with a well-deserved 15% pay rise. Could you take us through why the government has taken this approach to the early childhood workforce?
Thank you, Senator Grogan. Minister Walsh.
Thank you, Senator. And we are delivering, and we have had to take this approach because, unfortunately, not everyone has always backed this vital workforce. When we announced our historic 15% pay rise, those opposite dismissed it as, I quote, a sugar hit, a sugar hit. Senator Canavan even called it a handout. On this side of the chamber, we know that our early childhood educators, they earned this pay rise. Families know that educators earned this pay rise. But those opposite don't believe that early childhood educators deserve a cent more.
Those opposite left educators stranded and they left services stranded.
Order.
That is their legacy on that side of the chamber. Educators tell me that they finally feel valued. And you can jeer all you like, Senator Canavan and your colleagues,
Minister,
but educators know who backs them.
Chair. Thank you. Time has expired. Senator Canavan.
Thank you very much, Madam President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Climate Change and Energy, Senator Ayres. Minister, new data released today shows that Australia is barely reducing its carbon emissions. They're slightly fallen to 437.5 million tonnes of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions for the 12 months to June 2025. Minister, when the government came to power over 3 years ago, annual emissions were 440.5 million tonnes. So in 3 years, the government has achieved an annual emissions run rate of just 1 million tonnes per year. During the last coalition government, emissions reduced at a rate of 13 million tonnes per year. So, Minister, why was the last Liberal National government able to cut emissions at a rate 13 times that you have, despite your promise to get to net zero by 2050?
Thank you, Senator Canavan. Minister Ayres.
Well, it's a tough day for those of our colleagues in the National Party. It's a tough day, and you know I know that what our opponents hope for and pray for is that they're hoping for a little bit of bad performance because nothing fills their hearts full of joy. Nothing fills their hearts full of joy than a bad outcome. But this is an unambiguously good outcome. This is an unambiguously good outcome. Now it is true. It is true that a bit like the opposition's approach to COVID accounting in a range of other areas, it is true that during that COVID period, that emissions in areas like transport declined. That is true. That is true. But what has happened here is an unambiguously good outcome, where the equivalent of our whole aviation sector in emissions terms,
Senator Canavan, you've asked your question.
has reduced. It is. I don't want to trigger anybody over there. But it is an uptick in emissions performance, and that is a good thing. But I know that this question really is framed by the sort of politics of negativity and the politics, the sort of old fogey politics of hating on the science of climate change, hating on emissions reduction, really being absolutely focused on trying to talk national endeavour in these areas down, and by all means continue on that path.
Thank you, Senator Ayres. Minister Ayres. Senator Canavan, first supplementary.
Thank you, Madam President. To get to the government's target, Minister, of 62% emissions reduction by 2035, Australia must cut its emissions at an annual rate of 21 million tonnes per year for the next 10 years. Given the government's only been cutting emissions at a rate of 1 million tonnes per year, how is a 62% target realistic or affordable for Australians?
Thank you, Senator Canavan. Minister Ayres.
Well, in the year to June 2025, Australia's total emissions decreased by 10 megatonnes, or 2.2%. Our annual emissions are now 29% below 2005 levels. We've seen decreased electricity emissions, reflecting record renewables generation. What we are seeing is that's the thing.
Minister Ayres, please resume your seat. Senator Canavan, Senator McDonald, come to order. Senator Canavan. Minister Ayres, please continue.
We've seen decreased emissions in agriculture, decreased emissions from industrial processes, decreased emissions in stationary energy, decreased fugitive emissions. I mean, these reflect the efforts not just of the Commonwealth Government but of industry to work hard to achieve these outcomes in the national interest.
Senator Canavan, second supplementary.
President, Minister, to get to net zero by 2050, Australia's required run rate for emissions reduction is 18 million tonnes per year. But the government's only been going at a current run rate of just 1 million tonnes per year. At that rate, we'll hit net zero in the year 2462. Minister, isn't it time to declare your innings on your failing net zero batting effort, given that even Travis Head couldn't lift a run rate this low? And let's face it, Chris Bowen ain't no Travis Head.
Thank you, Senator Canavan. Minister Ayres. Order on my right. Senator Watts. Minister Ayres, I've called you.
Well, I don't want to overdo the cricket analogy, but you know, it's sort of like Johnny Bairstow wandering out the front of his crease, wandering around, and what's happened? Barnaby's gone. Barnaby's gone. Like the National Party gone so far right. Stumped.
Minister Ayres. Senator Henderson. Order on my right. Order. Minister Watt. Senator Henderson.
Minister Watt, stop making faces at me, would you?
Senator Henderson, resume your seat. Resume your seat. Order. 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 Order on my right. Minister Watt. Minister Watt. Senator Henderson.
Order, President. Senator Watt just made a very inappropriate comment, which is unparliamentary. Could you please ask him to withdraw that?
Senator Henderson, I did not hear any inappropriate comments, but I know that Minister Watt, if he thinks he did make an inappropriate comment, would withdraw that.
I've been misrepresented before, so what I said is that Senator Henderson is setting the pace for the coalition, and I withdraw.
Thank you. Senator Henderson.
President, I would ask that when withdrawals are being made, that they be made unconditionally without commentary.
Well,
and I just
order.
And I would just ask that you bring the minister to order.
Senator Henderson, I invited the minister, if he made an unparliamentary comment, to withdraw it. He repeated, I think, the comment. I don't know, because I said to you, you're not in a debate with me. You are not in a debate with Senator Henderson. I will refuse to hear you any further if you keep speaking at me. You've made your point of order. I said at the outset of the point of order I didn't hear anything unparliamentary. I think my record on pulling people up on unparliamentary behaviour speaks for itself. I invited the minister, if he made a comment, to withdraw it. He made a comment which was not unparliamentary. Let's move on. I'm going to invite Senator Ayres to continue his response. I remind him that he needs to address the chair.
Well, I have to confess I have, over the last couple of minutes, lost the thread of whatever the cricket question was over there, President. I just say, we have got a job to do. We have set targets. Australians have elected this government to deliver lower emissions, to build an electricity system that is modern and fit for purpose, to get Australian industry up and off the mat after a decade of disinvestment, of forcing business offshore. This is a government that's for manufacturing and for a modern electricity system.
Thank you. Minister Wong.
Thank you. I ask that further questions be placed